Hi, and thanks for joining us today. Today, I just want to cover a few points about starting your own roastery. I get a lot of questions about it. I can tell you how we went about it, and then I can cover some of the points. I've split it down to two ways. There's obviously other ways. If you've got your own cafe, you can start roasting in there. That's not going to be covered today. Today I've broken it down to two ways, starting from scratch, building your own roastery, and the other option being outsourcing and get someone else to roast for you. All right, so first I'm going to cover outsourcing, which is the way we started years back. So we're doing it now, we're doing it for two other companies that have approached us. Asked, look, are you happy to roast for us? This is what we're looking for, and if you can put it in our bags, and we'll put our own labels on. Or one company we stamp the bags for them. So that's outsourcing. Or so with outsourcing, there's some good points and there's some bad points. First, I'm going to cover all the good points of the outsourcing. One is obviously you got low overheads. You can start very cheaply. You can come to us or to another roaster and say, look, I want to start selling coffee beans. Are you able to bag them for me? And there may be a minimum requirement of 100 kilos, 200 kilos. Our minimum batch size is 30 kilos. So if you approach us and say, look, can you do 30 kilos for us? We want to have our own label. It's all possible. So very low overheads to start. Really, you only have to pay for that first batch of coffee that's coming out. You're sort of guaranteed with the quality because this company that you've approaching, you can already taste their coffee. You've probably already tasted their coffee, and you know that their quality is already there. Whereas when you start from scratch, it's a different story. There may be a variation of blends available already, some single origins. So you don't have to start roasting a wide variety, which obviously if you're starting from yourself, that's a bit of an issue. You've got people asking you for different things. If you got someone else roasting for you, you can piggyback on what they're already doing. Sure, you can do your own blend, but they may already have a single origin Ethiopian that you really like and you can offer to your customers. There's minimal time involved as well. So when you're starting a new business, there's sort of two sides to a business. You've got creating something and you've got selling something. You can create fantastic beans, but if you can't market them or if you don't have customers already, what are you going to do? You're going to stand there, spend a lot of time on roasting and perfecting, but you're not really selling any beans. You've got no one selling them. So there's always two sides to the business, I find. So by outsourcing, you can then concentrate on your marketing, building your customer base. You don't have to worry about roasting the coffee beans yourself. So that's always handy, and it may give you access to other products. So if you come to us, we've got access to chocolate powders, marketing material. Like we've got our own branded cups. We can lead you to places where you can get your own branded cups. So that can be very helpful when you're starting out small. Coffee barriers, some cafes, if you're supplying cafes, as well as home customers. Some cafes require umbrellas, barriers. It can be quite overwhelming if you're starting from yourself in your own roastery. But by outsourcing, you can then piggyback on someone else's experience. Want to move on to what's the bad side of doing it, your business that way, and maybe starting out that way. There may be a low margin. Like if you come to us and say, look, we just want to order 30 kilos of coffee. We want you to put in a special bag for us, and you're going to then on-sell that product. When you're ordering small quantities from a roaster, it's hard to get a really good price. Obviously, you're going to get a better price from us if you're saying, look, I'm going to order 300 kilos, one go, as against coming here ordering 30 kilos that we got to pack individually for you in a small bag. So that can be the bad side of it. There's a very low margin, possibly. You might have limited control of the quality of the product. Well, obviously limited by yourself. You're putting a lot of faith in someone else that they're going to do a good product for you. Where if you are roasting yourself, you can make decisions. When you've got someone else roasting, it's obviously limited how much control you have there. And you can't showcase your roastery, you know. If you are trying to win new customers, for example, inviting over a cafe that's very interested in your coffee, where are you going to take him? Are you going to take him to someone else's roastery, or and hope that they do the right thing by you? You don't have any premises, so you have really nothing to show them. So that can become an issue with bigger customers. And you have to tell little stories sometimes, because people are like, oh, so you're roasting your own coffee. That's what they want to hear. What are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them, oh yeah, we've got someone roasting our beans for us, or we're roasting at another place, or what are you going to tell them? That's a bit of a problem. The other problem is, what if you got one customer that says, oh look, can you tweak my blend? I want it a little bit darker, or I want the beans a little bit sweeter than what you've got. Now, if you're already ordering one batch from one supplier, let's say 100 kilos, and then you've got a guy that wants to get 10 kilos and you want to tweak it, how are you going to go about that? So you then have to go back to your roaster. It will be more expensive to do those 10 kilos tweak, where if you're obviously roasting your own, you can play around with it and adjust for individual requirements. And what I find personally, what I found hard selling a product that you don't make yourself, so you're pretty much just moving boxes. You do have some input in the quality and what you want, but I found I didn't have that pride in my product, saying, oh yeah, try Spina Espresso, and deep down I know I'm not in control of that product. This is not really, I didn't feel like that's my product. I felt like I'm selling someone else's product. And I just found, when we started roasting our own coffee, I found that I felt very, very passionate about the product. My attitude changed. I just felt really good making something. It's almost like going to a restaurant and they're opening a lamb shank that's already cooked and they're just reheating it. What pride do you have in that? Where if you're making the lamb shank from scratch, you're sealing it, you're braising it, and you're serving it out to your customers, you just feel really good. You feel more passionate, and I really think that comes across when you're trying to sell your product, because you're not telling any stories. You know exactly what you've done to the product, and you know each stage that it's gone through. So that's the outsourcing part. If you are to go down the road of roasting yourself, I've covered some points here as well. I'm just going to run through. So obviously the good things about roasting your own product is that you get that pride in your product. The other thing is you can showcase it. So you've obviously got a place where you're roasting. You can bring your customers in, or potential customers, and show them. They can feel, they can touch, they can smell it. Even neighboring businesses can smell when you're roasting coffee. And it's just like, it's like a bakery in the morning, isn't it? You smell fresh bread and you go, oh wow, they're roasting their own coffee. It's going to attract customers. You've got greater control of your product. So you can control the quality of it. You can tweak blends for certain customers, like we spoke about before, and you can roast as you require it, because green coffee has a long shelf life. You can have a bag of green coffee for 6 months and it will still be good, whereas a roasted product, after about 2.5 weeks, it starts deteriorating. Not fast, but it starts deteriorating. And some people, like myself, not happy with 5-week-old coffee. Now, if you're buying in bulk from a roastery, let's say you're buying 100 kilos at a time, but you've only got 2 customers, you're only selling 20 kilos a week. Well, that's 5 weeks of product that you have sitting at your place going old. If you're roasting your own beans in a small roaster, you can then go, okay, I'm just going to roast 20 kilos. I'm going to send it out to my customers, and I don't have stock sitting there going old. That's really, really handy, I find. The other thing is you have a lot more pride in your product, like I spoke about before. You know what's done to it. You know why you love it. You know what certain customers, what adjustments you need to make them happy. So it's just more touching and feeling your own product. It just gives you great satisfaction, I find. Want to cover the bad points as well, because there are bad points with starting your own roastery. Is what size roaster do you buy? Do you buy a small electric one, which costs a lot to run, doesn't produce a lot, you have to spend a lot of time with it? Do you buy a 5 kilo roaster? What happens when you buy a 5 kilo roaster and you're inexperienced? You're wasting a lot of product, because every time to roast in a 5 kilo roaster, you want minimum 2-3 kilos in it. Otherwise, it just doesn't roast. Like if you put half a kilo in a 5 kilo roaster, it's very hard to control the heat. It's just not. It's not made to make that small amounts. The other thing is, and I think the big thing with setting up your own roastery and roasting your own coffee is you need premises to roast. You can't roast at home. The smoke's too intense. So you need premises. You obviously need to pay rent, electricity, gas. So all of a sudden you've got a lot of overheads coming out, and you still haven't made any new customers. So you might only have one customer or family members or a small online business, and you've got all these overheads coming out. The other thing to consider, you need things like marketing, possibly advertising. You need a roaster. So whether you start with a 5 kilo, a 10 kilo, a 2 kilo. One thing to consider, the smaller you go, the more time's involved in roasting and the bigger the overheads in running it. So if you're running a 2 kilo electric roaster, it chews up a lot of electricity compared with a 10 kilo gas one. 10 kilo gas one, you do one batch. You got to do 5 batches to match that in a 2 kilo electric one. You need to buy a sealer to seal your bags. You need boxes to send it out. You need bags, marketing, stamps, couriers. You need to organize. Maybe you need to pre-buy courier tickets if you're not delivering it yourself. And you need to buy green beans. Now, green beans are obviously cheaper than roasted beans, but you don't buy 5 kilos at the time. You buy sacks of minimum 30 kilos. Most of the ones we buy are 60 or 70 kilo bags. So that's an expense to start off with as well. The biggest part of starting your own roastery, I find, is the inexperience. So how much are you going to waste? What's the quality going to be like? These are things you've got to consider when you're just starting out. Now, for me personally, to give you an insight, we started out outsourcing. We were ordering 120 kilos at a time, and we got to a stage where we were confident that we had enough knowledge about coffee, enough experience mucking around with a small roaster to actually take on that responsibility of roasting for our own customers. So we had a step over period where we started roasting for some of our customers, and we were still getting we were still outsourcing from another roastery, and they were roasting for us, and a couple of our customers were onto our own roast. We started on a 5 kilo gas roaster. We're now onto a 20 kilo machine. So these are options you can do. There's no right or wrong. There's nothing stopping you from starting by outsourcing and then later moving into roasting yourself. Or you can do, if you're keen, start with a small roaster and then later, when you outgrow that, move to a bigger one. But these are some of the points I just wanted to discuss. Feel free to leave some comments. If you like the video, I'll do a few more. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and we'll get into some roasting very soon. Thanks again for watching. Follow us on this channel. Also, we're actually selling, we've got a couple of small 5 kilo roasters that we're selling, so feel free to contact me regarding that. If I can help you with anything, just leave a message below and I'll try to get back to them. Thanks.